I'll go ahead and call the July 10th, 2017 meeting to order. We've got Commissioner Eford is going to lead us in the invocation and the pledge tonight. If you will, stand when he finishes with the invocation.
I got a couple verses I'd like to read. Psalms 102, 1 and 2. It says, "Hear my prayer, O Lord, and let me cry unto thee. Hide not thy face from me in the day when I am troubled. Incline thine ear unto me in the day when I call. Answer me speedily." Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we again, Lord, thank you for this day, and just thank you once again for the many blessings that you give to us. And Lord, thank you for this county and the natural resources that you afford us, Lord. And we pray for this board and the decisions that we make. Pray for strength and wisdom. Pray, Lord, for all those who are sick and afflicted in our community. And Lord, those who protect us, fire, EMS, emergency workers, just be with them, keep them safe. Lord, I pray especially for our military and their families, for the sacrifices that they make, that we can truly remain one nation under God. These things I ask in your precious name I pray. Amen. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, you've got your agendas in front of you. Their approval or adjustment to the agenda. Commissioner Louder moves to approve, second by Commissioner Swain. All in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. First item is Health Department. Dennis Joyner, I think, is our presenter. Come on up, Dennis.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to come back and speak with you. I know the item we're going to be discussing tonight kind of relates back to our, a little bit to our budget discussion early on concerning the dental clinic establishing a financial assistance program to assist eligible dental clinic patients who receive treatment from our pediatric dentist in the OR. When we were discussing this at the budget discussions, I know there was concern about the use of public dollars in funds that may be used for this assistance. And in looking back at our budget and recognizing that there's funds that we get that are patient fee dollars, private insurance dollars. Currently, this year, we've already received revenues in excess of $35,000. Probably going to end up being close to $40,000 of those dollars this year. And we are budgeting $30,000 of those particular dollars that are not in any way associated to some public types of funds, such as Medicaid or Health Choice. So we are coming here today to ask if we can recognize those dollars as funds that could be used in looking at establishing an assistance program in conjunction with the hospital. Again, these would be assisting those folks that have high out-of-pocket costs, but their kids need the necessary dental treatment in the OR to avoid, quite frankly, a traumatizing repeat events of things coming back into the clinic over and over. And in some cases, the services just can't be provided chairside in the clinic. I have with us today Dr. Turner, our pediatric dentist, as well as Dr. Candace Crow. If y'all have any particular questions about the type of services or things that we would be doing. But we thought that this might be a way for us to be able to address some of the concerns that had been raised earlier about the use of public dollars for this particular assistance fund.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Joyner from the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McIntyre.
Mr. Joyner, I'm trying to get this in my mind, how this works. Can you, where actually does this money come from? Is this insurance reimbursement, or is it from private pay that can pay the copay and and this goes into a fund to help pay for those who can't pay?
Well, the revenues that we generate that I was referencing is revenues that are from private insurance that we may receive, patient pay, folks that are on a sliding fee scale. They don't have Medicaid or health choice or some nature. So it's dollars that are coming in from, primarily those are the main areas that this particular revenue source is made up of: private pay, private insurance, patient sliding fee payments on services that are rendered.
So, I'm just trying to clear this in my head.
That's fine. That's fine.
Do you bill the insurance company, correct?
Correct.
And then sometimes if they pay more than you bill for? Does
Well,
that ever happen?
they're never going to pay more than what we bill for, typically.
I know there's some instances where they do to doctors, and I was just wondering if they pay more.
Yeah, I'm
So,
Are you familiar with? I wish that happened.
so basically,
quickly.
this is coming from a hypothetical. You have patient A that has private insurance, and they're able to pay their copays and deductibles. Then you have patient B who doesn't have, they have private insurance, but for some reason they can't, they fall in the gap, they don't make enough money to pay for their copay. So this money goes into a fund from patient A to pay patient B's for their child, dental.
Let me clarify one thing where I think you may be confusing two things here. We have routinely received private sliding fee funds. There's revenue line patient fees that we have had historically in our dental clinic. Yes, the predominant payer source for our dental clinic is Medicaid and health choice for the most part. But the private patient fee portion has increased some over the years, and that's reference to the 37,000 or possibly 40,000 that we are going to be getting through our regular clinical operation. What we were hoping or asking to do is, as we work with the hospital to try to address a way that we can further assist patients who get OR services and they have hospital expenses because of high out-of-pocket deductibles or other costs, that they would have to be eligible based on the hospital scale that we work out. We have to still work that out. That we would set aside some funds that could assist those folks with the high out-of-pocket deductibles, because in some situations it's becoming a difficult thing for them to accept to get that level of care that may be needed. So it would be assisting them in helping to discount or cover some of that hospital cost. It would not cover the whole amount, but it would be a way to help assist them in their hospital cost associated with the OR service. So the two pots of money that we're referencing, the 30,000 would be sort of an amount that we would set aside for that, but we're wanting to recognize the amount of revenue that we have that's non-public related to help support that, because that seemed to be a concern that was raised during the budget process. Does that help?
It does.
A little bit.
Is it mainly for just surgery, oral surgery? More for the operating room than it is for?
Yeah, this would only be related.
Just for that.
Yes.
This is a pilot program.
Yes, and we would reassess it and see how it's going over the year.
Chairman Burleson, I have a question.
Commissioner Louder?
I believe I heard in the previous discussion that the hospital does have the ability to negotiate with the insurance company. Isn't that correct? Didn't I hear that?
The hospital is going to set its fee, for whatever those hospital costs are associated with the OR service. Insurance-wise, I don't know the details of what a negotiation amount is. I know they do have what's called a hardship discount program to help assist. That's in play right now. And that's one of the things that we're wanting to kind of piggyback on, or to use as hopefully a format for developing the amount of money that we would be using to assist. So I don't know that I'm,
So the hardship discount program
Yeah.
is not the same, though, as any negotiating ability they have?
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay, in the discount program, how do they determine the discount amount?
Yeah.
Where they're gonna give one patient a larger discount over another? And my next part of that question is, how is the health department going to be involved in that conversation and its discussion? And who has the ultimate authority? I would think probably the hospital, because they're doing the billing,
Well,
correct?
in terms of the amount of dollars that they are using for the discount or the hardship program right now, there's an eligibility process where they look at income, assets of the individual, and it falls out if they're eligible based on what the financials are for that person. It may be discounted, their balance may be discounted 25%, 50%, or 75%. That typically is the three ranges. We're wanting to work with them. If you've got an outstanding balance and they're able to discount at a certain percentage, we were wanting to also use that same percentage to further assist that individual. Right now, we've got to work through some examples to see what that will look like. In fact, I know there's hopefully some discussion going on this week with them to see how it would play out, because obviously we want it to benefit the folks that we're trying to serve. So we're wanting to dovetail and piggyback on something that actually has already got some foundation and we would only be responsible for the amount of funds that we have. And so it would just be, once these allocated dollars are used, that would be all for this particular year.
Well, I understand the concept of working with the scale and trying to work with the hospital and come to an agreement on that scale. But at the same time, I hate to see people or families or patients put into categories so much, because sometimes there are other circumstances that might be shared. So that's why scales give me a
Yeah.
little bit of a problem dealing with. But I'd really like more of these details to be presented to us. I think you've answered our questions quite well, but yet you can't speak for the hospital.
details.
And you don't know what they're going to bring to you exactly. You don't have a document yet, do you?
Well, we know what their hardship scale looks like and the kind of eligibility requirements that they currently have.
Would there
We
be a
still-
written agreement between the health department, dental clinic, and the hospital?
There should be. There should be some agreement in terms of how we will relate, so that they understand that, if we're going to cover a certain percentage of that cost, it would be in addition to what their discount's going to be. But we need to work out the details of of the specifics of how it actually benefits, because there may be some situations where the person's not going to be eligible. And so, we're not going to, if that's the case, we wouldn't be able to use any of these funds. So we've got to also look at, how much it's going to actually benefit the patients.
I have one more question.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, do I still have the floor, Chairman?
Yeah, you do. You do.
Okay.
I was getting ready to speak. Go ahead.
If there's a family, I'm just going to give you a scenario, and their combined income gross is $55,000 a year, and they have 3 dependent children, and they have a dental policy for the minor children, and it has a $1,000 limit. Would there be any circumstance that they would be eligible? Because, having 3 children does cost a lot, and dental care for them costs a lot. And if they've only got $1,000 in dental insurance, and some treatment may be applied to that policy and some may not, so they're going to have out-of-pocket expenses.
Right.
So in that scenario, would they have any eligibility?
It's likely that they would. I'm going to look at Dr. Turner to see if you
So
have,
you're saying that one of these children are actually going to need operating room treatment?
Yes.
Yes, then they would be eligible. Anybody would be eligible.
that we're getting OR service. They would be eligible for the potential to be eligible on the scale. The question you're raising is, we would need to see what their financial assets. You said 55,000. I don't have it in front of me as to what percentage, if that's 25% or 50% or 75%, which is what their 3 categories are.
There again, there could be another circumstance you don't know about. Because I look at every dollar a person earns working, earning a W-2 or a 1099. I look at that. That dollar is going to be taxed until the point that you file your return and you know what allowances you have. And
Right.
depending on some of those allowances that a person may take, I would hope that they could be treated as fairly
Right.
as those who have less income.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the ideas, is to try to, the folks that actually have these high out-of-pocket costs, lower insurance or less insurance coverage, are often put in a position where they have a very difficult time getting any assistance. And when they're having a big balance, this is a detriment in some cases to getting the actual needed care.
I know we could never really project the need sometimes for services, but with this budgeted amount, the amendment for it, I'm wondering how many times there has been use of the operating room and procedures needed for this child in a year, in this past year.
We've had the operating room has been used 109,000, I think, 110 cases, excuse me. 110.
You were about to scare me.
This fiscal year is one?
32.
So,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
132 is how many times this past year that was, the hospital OR services were
Is
used.
this going to be sufficient for 132?
Well, no, and all of these 132, a lot of them, the bulk of them are Medicaid or Health Choice, which
Okay.
those are actually going to be covered, and we're not able to bill after that. So we take what we.
Do you know
what
how
their
many
rate-
weren't?
Well, up until this past spring, we weren't
Taking
seeing
private
private
insurance.
insurance. So this has actually opened up a little, I guess it was an area of concern as we expanded, because some folks now who are not Medicaid, but yet still need the service and have high out-of-pocket deductible insurance. We're going to see some. We don't envision there being, tons. We only have certain allocation of dental slots in the OR right now. Typically, we've got 3 a week, roughly?
Two.
Two for
every
sure.
Thursday, and then the second Monday.
Second Monday is one on a Monday. So, I mean, we're not going to be able to to add a whole lot in, but certainly some that need it, it would be beneficial.
One more question. Are you having discussion about plans to educate the public about this program?
Well, if we
Yeah.
get it in place, certainly, yes, we would need to, share the information and how it could assist the public. I mean, I
And
think
you'd
that's
be-
reasonable to do.
And you would
yes.
share that with this board?
Oh, certainly, certainly. Yeah, I mean, as the
Maybe bef-
details get laid out, I mean, I want to be as transparent as I can so that y'all see exactly, what we're doing and all of that, and certainly appropriate for the public as well.
Well, I personally would be interested in maybe having a little overview of that prior to
Okay.
any action.
Okay, well, prior to any action before, in other words, proceeding on, have get to
Before
that
we-
information.
Before we take action tonight, I can't do it at this time. I still have questions as Commissioner McIntyre does.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner McIntyre?
Commissioner Louder's correct. I do have questions, and I'm just still having trouble getting this in my mind. And I think once they could iron out some details, if we could table this for a month, come back to our meeting in August, so that maybe some of those things more details could be presented to us at that point, I would be in favor. I'll even make a motion to table this for a month.
Is that in the form of a motion? Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner McIntyre.
Is there any way I can speak before that happens?
Sure, come on up.
So we've met with the hospital about the hardship application process, and in order for us to get this started, we actually have to do some pilot cases. So I've seen 4 children so far since we began this discussion, and 2 of those are autistic children, and they're not going to be able to wait. So we're talking about abscesses. One of the children had to have 8 teeth extracted, and in order for us to take care of these kids, we need to agree to do this now so we can actually start the pilot process with the hospital. I have a meeting tomorrow morning. It's at 11 o'clock, and we're supposed to be talking with the finance department with CHS. Please have questions for me. I want to know how to treat these children the best way I can and the safest way I can, but I can't do that. In the operating room, I can because we have the ability to do general anesthesia in the office. One of the children I couldn't even get x-rays on because they were referred from a different dentist to me. So it's for safety issues. It's for children that are abscessed and infected, and we really can't wait. We didn't know there was a need until we started taking these private pay patients. So we've been taking Medicaid Health Choice for a long time and had these same situations, but this has just come up. So does anyone have questions for me about this? And I'll be glad to send anybody the hardship process if you'd like to see that. But I don't know how to get it started unless we actually vote to approve the money.
I've got a motion on the floor, so I need either a withdrawal or I need a second so that we can get into more discussion.
I'd like to second the motion,
I've
Commissioner.
got a motion by Commissioner McIntyre and a second by Commissioner Louder. Is there any other discussion before we take a vote on that?
Chairman,
Go ahead.
Commissioner Louder?
what was the month that the Board of Health decided to take the private insurance? I don't recall.
That
I
was
believe it's
February.
February. Until that time, was there ever a patient that had a similar circumstance as you described that needed immediate care, and were you or were you not able to do that in the operating room at Stanley?
I was not someone that had private pay insurance.
Pardon me?
Not someone that had private insurance. I was not able to do that because our Board of Health did not have us taking
But those without it, you were able to, those without private pay,
those with Medicaid and Health Choice, yes, ma'am.
you were. So the case you're talking about is someone that does have private insurance.
That does have private insurance. And the parents can't afford the co-pays. One of the situations was the parent got a raise in January. They made $1 too much to qualify, and they came to see us in February. And so at that point, the child needed to go to the OR, but they couldn't afford the co-pays on it. So our options are to use a PediaWrap, and that would be where we actually have to restrain the child. And I can't do all the treatment at one time. It has to be done in different increments because of the amount of local anesthesia I can give. Because of their weight. So these are children who have decay, gross decay throughout the mouth, and having to restrain a child one time is not a fun thing, but it can be done. So if I'm having to take out one tooth, that's not a problem. If I'm having to take out 8 teeth, then that's a problem. That means that child's going to be restrained 4 different times, and they can't wait when they're abscessed, infected, and their faces are swollen. I mean, it's not good for the patient, it's not good for the staff, and it's not good for the parents.
Chairman Burleson,
Commissioner Louder?
I'm not a dentist by any means. I have had 3 children, and so I've had, as a parent, the experience with abscessed teeth. I've been blessed that I have not had a child, with autism or special needs, and I understand that. But anyway, you have my second to the motion.
I do have one question, Mr. Joyner. Going back to the eligibility discussion that Commissioner Louder engaged you in, I understand some of the criteria as far as how the patient would be eligible. Who in your department would be making that decision, looking at that criteria and saying, okay, this is the criteria we've set up, and yes, this patient meets this criteria? Who would be making that decision?
Would be our dental clinic manager.
Okay. Any other,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Swain?
it's loud today. I have one quick question. What you're saying is that CHS, we can't explore that criteria without first having a patient? Is that what you're telling us right now?
Yes.
That scares me a little bit. While I wholeheartedly support your program, and I voted for it the first time, that does scare me that CHS is not willing to do that. Is there a way, I guess my question would be for somebody up here, county manager, attorney, or somebody, is there a way to allocate a very smaller dollar amount to get that pilot case in order for this board to get those criteria set in stone? I don't know how that would even work. To take care of the patient that you have in order to get to that point where we can get these criteria ironed out with the hospital. I think that would be my concern.
County manager?
The amount of money that this board wants to allocate for this purpose can be anything from $30,000 to $2,000 or $3,000, whatever you feel you want to do. I mean, you could certainly allocate some percentage of that $30,000 to start, if that's what the board chose to do this evening. And then if the pilot is successful, then the details get worked out. You could certainly come back and amend that. Obviously you have many options. You could table it. You could, decline to do it again like we did earlier. You could fund the whole amount and ask this group to come back and give more details as they go through this pilot, or you could do a percentage. I mean, you have options. before you this evening. We'd be more than happy to help you work through that.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas.
Mr. Chairman,
Swain, Commissioner Swain,
can we turn these down so they don't echo? Or am I just talking loud?
I think you're probably close.
It's probably me. I would move to amend Commissioner McIntyre's motion to allocate not more than $5,000 to initiate this pilot program with the patient that you have. Because I'm interested in getting the details out there and tabling the rest until we have those details ironed out.
If I do anything.
Yeah, that would work.
I have
Would it
a
take that
question, Mr. Joyner. Would that $5,000, would that get this patient the care that they need?
Yes.
Okay.
You mentioned 2 patients.
Well, when we first discussed this with the folks over at the hospital, they were proposing that we take several cases to look at sort of how the eligibility and everything would work out, to kind of work out the kinks to see what would apply. So that's what the reference was for a couple patients. So
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Morgan?
I just got one question. As far as with the hospital, is there any other outpatient locations in Stanley County that we could possibly use if the agreement wouldn't work out with CHS? Just, I know in the past, like, I've had outpatient surgery, the exact same at the hospital, and you're talking quite a bit difference financially.
And unfortunately, from an OR standpoint, she's going to have the OR. She has OR privileges at the hospital, so it's kind of
The reason you're in the situation that you're in.
sort of the.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to,
Swain.
I would reword my amendment, and I will move to amend Commissioner McIntyre's motion to table this, but allow up to $5,000 for 2 patients to see if that, to get this pilot program started, and I'll make that in the form of an amendment.
Does Commissioner
I accept.
McIntyre and Commissioner Louder accept the amendment?
We do.
Okay. Okay. So we need to vote on the amendment first. Chairman Lawhon, do you understand what's going on? Yes, sir, that is not, that is correct. Okay, well, first we're going to be voting on the amendment. So all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. All right, and second, we will be voting on the original motion to table it. All those in favor of tabling this signify by saying aye. All those opposed? No. I understand we've got that 4-3. I hear that right? Commissioner Swain, Commissioner Louder, Commissioner McIntyre, and Commissioner Morgan voting in the affirmative. Chairman Lawhon, myself, and Commissioner Eford voting no. Okay. All right. It passed, correct. You have up to $5,000, and we will bring this back at a later date and get some more questions answered.
For 2 patients, 5,000 total for the 2. So would the budget be amended, I mean, to put that in so that we could actually adjust it? Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Commissioner Swain,
I move to amend the budget amendment presented by Mr. Joyner from $30,000 to $5,000 to allow the process of this to go ahead and begin.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that, sir.
Commissioner Eford, second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Mr. Joyner and folks from your department, thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate you a lot. All right, item 2, Library Board of Trustees, presenter Melanie Hollis. Come on up, Melanie.
Good evening. I'm here this evening to present to you the recommendations of the Library Board of Trustees to fill the 3 positions that will be vacant as of the end of July. Pat Bramlett and Kay Baucom are 2 of those positions, and they have both served 2 terms on the board. And Jack Bell is the 3rd position that will be open, and he has completed 1 term. So we do have 3 terms. The board looked through all of the applications that Tyler submitted to us. And I just wanted to let you know some of the criteria that the board used for consideration of these candidates. Would the candidate provide us, as the library, with a community partner? That is some other organization or group in the county that we could partner with. We have Stephanie Almond on our board, who is with the school system nutrition site, and she has proved to be a great partner with the school system, so that's one of the criteria that the board looked at. The other was the candidate or their family a library user. A third criteria is to make sure that we have coverage on our board from all areas of the county, specifically in those locations where we have branches, Albemarle, Baden, Norwood, Oakboro, and Locust. And then the 4th criteria was to make sure that we had all of our user populations covered. That means having somebody on the board who was retired to represent that group of the county, somebody on the board who has children, people with kids in school, and those sorts of things. Those are the library user groups that we wanted to have represented on our board. So the board has 3 recommendations for you. The first is Ken Ringler, who would fill Pat Bramlett's spot. Both Pat and Ken are Albemarle residents, and Ken would also be the representative from the Historical Society, and Pat has sort of filled that role since we merged the museum and the library. At that time, we really felt that our Library Board of Trustees needed a representative from the Historical Society, since they do have a lot of financial input into the operations. So Ken Ringler is the first recommendation. Cynthia Fish from Stanfield is the second recommendation. She would fill Kay Baucom's spot, being a West Stanley representative. We do not have anybody on the board from Stanfield. Our other West Stanley representative is from Locust. And the third recommendation is Anissa Enamat to fill Jack Bell's spot. Jack and Anissa are both Albemarle residents, and additionally, Anissa would give us that representation from the homeschooling sector of the county. That is a group that we always struggle having good contact with, so the board was really excited about the fact that she homeschools her children. So those are the 3 recommendations for you this evening, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. You've all heard Melanie and her presentation. Is there any questions, or what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, can we make nominations also to be voted on?
You can make a motion or nominations.
All right, I have 3 folks that have shown an interest that I'd like to nominate: Kay Poole, Susan Nance, and Kathy Clyburn.
Their applications were in the group that we reviewed. Mhm.
Okay, I've got Kay Poole, Kathy Clyburn, and Susan Nance. All right. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the nomination?
So moved.
Motion to close.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the nominations as presented?
Well, we've got 6, so we have to vote on 3, right? Yeah. Well, in a nomination process, you don't make motion, you don't have to make a motion. They presented the nominations of 3. We
Well,
presented 3, I presented.
I'm looking at this board here has only made the nomination of the 3 individuals. So we only have the 3 individuals stated, Kay Poole, Kathy Clyburn, and Susan Nance, that are our nominations.
Their nominations don't move forward like it's from the
Correct. This is just a recommendation here.
And I'd like to,
Someone correct me if I'm
I would-
misleading that.
If nominations are still open, if those are coming from their group, I would at least like to consider them as nominations.
Okay.
I'll nominate the 3 that she has recommended before us tonight, as well as the 3 that Commissioner McIntyre presented.
So that was Anissa Enamite, Cynthia Fish, and Ken Ringler. Okay, so we have 6 individuals. All right.
You have 3 positions, so each commissioner can vote for 3 people, right? Correct? Right.
Let me get this wrote down, so I've got. All right, we've got the 6 individuals have been nominated for the library board. Each commissioner will get 2 votes, 3 votes, excuse me, 3 votes. I'm getting 3 votes. And so I'll just go down the list as they were here on our list. Commissioners voting for Ms. Enamite. Got 3. I got my hand ready. Okay, Bill, I've got 4 on Ms. Enamite. Ms. Fish, commissioners voting for Ms. Fish. Bill, who are you voting? All right, I've got 3 for Ms. Fish. Mr. Ringler. Got 1, 2. Bill? Okay, that's 3. Kay Poole. Got 1, 2, 3. Got 4. Kathy Clyburn. 2. I've got 3. And Susan Nance. Okay, we're gonna have to go back through this because I've got 2 4s and 4 3s. Yep, each commissioner will get 1 vote and we'll go back through the 3s. Cynthia Fish. Okay, we got 3 on Ms. Fish. Mr. Ringler. One vote, correct? Only get 1 vote. So that is. Bill, did you say yes or no?
I'm a little confused.
You,
All of these are just
you get one vote.
one vote on these 3. Tell me who the 3 are.
Cynthia Fish, Ken Ringler, Kathy Clyburn, and Susan Nance.
So there's 4 individuals that I get 1 vote for.
Correct. And he
Yeah,
voted?
but I didn't realize I only have 1 vote. So I got Cynthia, read the names one more time.
Cynthia Fish, Ken Ringler, Kathy Clyburn, and Susan Nance.
Okay, I'll stick with the
Okay? All right, Ken Ringler. No votes. Kathy Clyburn. 2 votes. And Susan Nance. 2 votes. All right. Got a tie again. All right, we're gonna have to go through this one more time to narrow down our. Cynthia Fish did get 3. I stand corrected, I apologize. All right. Yes, that is correct. Our, Anissa Enamite originally on the original vote got 4 votes. Kay Poole had 4 votes, and then when we had to redo it, Cynthia Fish had 3 votes. So our appointments will be Anissa Enamite, Cynthia Fish, and Kay Poole.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Morgan?
are we sure that everybody voted 3 times the first time around? Because there shouldn't have been yeah, there was only 20 votes. Should be 21.
You're gonna have, you have 21 votes. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Right. Yeah, yeah, that should add up. You guys are trying me on my first night up here. That's all right. Our 3 individuals is Anissa Enamite, Cynthia Fish, and Kay Poole. Thank you, Ms. Hollis. Yeah, that worked me out on the first. Yes, sir, I am. First night, they're testing me. Item B, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, County Manager Andy Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We wanted to bring this item back to you. Ms. DeSantis is actually here this evening if you have questions. But at the June 5th meeting, you all approved Ms. Holt, Ms. Udi, and obviously Ms. DeSantis and some others. But we wanted to make sure you saw the full slate of those who were on the committee, including John Michael Heyman, Philip Spate, Christopher Fish, and others. And so we're asking this evening that Jessica Colt, who hasn't been attending on a regular basis, that Melissa Udi has expressed interest. Her application's in the file, and would ask that you appoint Miss Udi to take the spot of Miss Holt, who you previously appointed at your June 5th meeting.
Okay. Everyone heard the county manager. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to accept as presented.
Got a motion to accept as presented. I have a second. Got a second by Commissioner Morgan. All those in favor? Any discussion first? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, and now Stanley Community College Board of Trustees, presenter Andy Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have before you a letter from the community college indicating that Ms. Keisha Smith and Mr. Todd Swearingen, their terms have expired. And so the board has asked for consideration of either reappointment or appointment of 2 new members to serve on that board. And you have several applications in your packet for consideration this evening. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, County Manager Lucas. You've all went over your packet and seen the applications. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Louder?
I would like to make a motion to approve Ms. Keisha Smith to serve on this board.
I've got a motion for Ms. Keisha Smith. Do I have a second? Commissioner Lawhon with a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Got Commissioner Louder, Commissioner Eford, Commissioner Lawhon. Any opposed? No. I'm sorry, the motion fails.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Morgan,
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to nominate Carmen Phillips and Greg Underwood.
we've got a motion for Carmen Phillips and Greg Underwood. Do I have a second? Commissioner McIntyre. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
I've got 4-3. The motion carries. All right. Greg Underwood and Carmen Phillips have been appointed to the Community College Board. Item 3, resolution seeking to keep local JCPenney store open for business. Presenter Andy Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item actually was brought to me by Chairman Lawhon. JCPenney has announced the closing of 138 stores nationwide. He had asked for a resolution to be presented to this board for your consideration, seeking support for keeping the store open in Albemarle. So you have that resolution before you this evening for consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, I'll read the resolution, if you guys will indulge for a second. Resolution in support of keeping JCPenney store number 2296 in Albemarle, North Carolina open for business. Whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners has a vested interest to support business based in our community that provide jobs, tax base, and stimulate the local economy. And whereas JCPenney store number 2296 in Albemarle, North Carolina has provided jobs, retail options, as well as taxable investment for many years. And whereas JCPenney store number 2296 has been an active community partner and has made numerous charitable contributions to assist local nonprofits and other community-based organizations. Now therefore be it resolved, the Stanley County Board of Commissioners kindly request JCPenney Company Incorporated review and reconsider their decision to close store number 2296 in Albemarle, North Carolina. Adopted this the 10th day of July 2017. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Eford.
I make a motion that we approve this resolution, sir.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner McIntyre, I think beat you to it, Chairman Lawhon.
We get it done, I don't care.
I agree. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I think that's very important.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner McIntyre.
was in the belt department store over in Albemarle a week or so ago, and this subject came up with a couple of the employees over there, and they were, I know they'll be in favor of us doing this, but they said, you know, this can hurt the belt store because people come to Albemarle and shop at JCPenney, they may come over to Belt, they may go to the other stores there, and when stores like that close, it hurts those other businesses of the same type. So I think it's important that we did this, and I'm glad we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any other comments? Item 5, consent agenda, the minutes and, I did blow by one, I'm sorry. Item 4, the NCACC Annual Conference Voting Delegate. Presenter Andy Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The annual conference for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners is coming up the week of August 10th, and they're seeking a voting delegate from each county. It's my understanding that no one was planning to attend from Stanley County. It's not imperative that we have somebody there to vote as a voting delegate, but we wanted you to have the opportunity to take action on this if you so chose. So it would be Saturday, August 12th, from 2 to 4 is their organizational meeting, and business meeting, and so that would be when the voting delegate would be needed if the board decides to select somebody to be represented. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner McIntyre.
I plan to try to attend some of the activities because that's when they do their youth thing, and that's very important to me. But I will not be able to be a delegate because I won't be able to do the Saturday thing. But I might be attending, so, if it all works out. Still don't have a delegate. Doesn't mean someone else can't go.
Chairman Lawhon, do you have any interest in attending the annual conference?
I will attend it if no one else will.
Are you willing to be the voting delegate as well?
If I'm gonna attend it, you better believe I'm gonna.
All right. Well, I think you signed yourself up for a job. The chair would entertain a motion to appoint Chairman Lawhon. Got a motion by Commissioner McIntyre and a second by Commissioner Swain to appoint Chairman Lawhon as our voting delegate for the NCACC Annual Conference. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? You're it, Chairman Lawhon.
No, I'm voting no.
All right, now,
I'll take my girlfriend with my wife.
there you go. All right, we're to the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Eaton.
make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion, do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Morgan. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are to public comment. See who we have for public comment. I think this says Bruce Nance Stanfield. Come on forward.
Appreciate y'all letting me speak tonight. Bruce Nance is my name. I got a paper here, April 29th, that the board, school board discussed church and school, religion in school. And it's got over here, you cannot do one without the other. Now, there ain't but one religion. How they gonna do so many religions if there ain't but one? True religion. There's a lot of false religion, but are we gonna pay, as the Stanley County people gonna have to pay a teacher and pay the school to bus them back and forth to schools, or the county committee, or the school board gonna pay it?
Sir, we can't address you during this period.
Do what?
We cannot address you during this period, but feel free to speak and give us your thoughts.
You can't answer my question.
No, sir. Well, if Commissioner McIntyre would like to engage, that's perfectly fine.
I really don't want to engage, but that's a matter for the school board and not for the county commission.
Well, now, if we pay the tax, if y'all agree to pay the tax, it's y'all place to make y'all gonna have to make the decision where we pay the tax, or they pay their own sales, or we're gonna have to pay the tax if they agree to do this. That's what I wanna know, is the taxpayer's gonna have to pay it. That's exactly what I wanna know. Now, y'all know that.
I believe there's been some discussion about having religious education as part of the curriculum in the school system. I think there's been talk that they would not do just, maybe Christianity, but also Judaism and Buddhism and other religions from world. I think there's been that discussion. I don't know where that discussion is, or whether they're going to do it, or whether it's going to be integrated. I have no idea, because we just don't get into the policy of the school board and their education. But I think that's probably what he's talking about, is there has been some discussion on the school board side of offering some religious classes, but making sure there's this thought process that needs to be well-rounded and not just focused on one religion. I think what he's referring to is he pays property taxes, and is he going to have to pay property taxes if he doesn't agree with how the money that for the school system is being utilized?
And teach false religion. That's what I'm getting, teaching false religion. Because any other religion would be false religion. Because there ain't but one true religion.
Sir, I think probably it'd be best to address your questions to the school board.
I have.
Well,
They hadn't voted on it yet, but they won't discuss nothing. I played them down here. I need to know something of it. How do I go about finding out anything?
I can't answer that question. I will offer you this. Just from my background in the school system and working in a school system that teaches religion, the school systems where I have worked that teach that do not pay for it. It is privately funded through a church. So tax dollars do not pay for it.
Well, now, it says here in this paper, if the church don't pay for it, then they'll have to pay for it. That means the county.
I can't address that because that would be a school board issue, but from personal experience where I have worked, it has been a private church paid for it, and the county did not put any money forward.
Okay, that's what it says in here, but if they don't, if the church won't sponsor it, then they're gonna look to the county to sponsor it, according to the paper now. Hey, y'all ever got a paper within it? Down in Hughes. I'm scared because I hate to see our young people going to school and get the wrong idea on what religion is all about. Because we are sending them to hell if y'all don't know it, if we teach them the wrong religion. Now, I don't know whether y'all saved, lost, or what, but it's a serious situation to me. That we won't take a stand for God in this damn time we live. What's wrong with people? Why won't we take a stand for the true living God? Are we ashamed of him? It's a serious thing, church, because I hadn't got no kids myself that ain't none through school and all, but I hate to see the young generation be taught the wrong way if they do teach it like they say, if they pass it. Now, the school board hasn't passed it yet, according to last month, but they won't give you no answers. Do y'all know anyone I can talk to get an answer?
have you tried talking to the superintendent yet?
Superintendent?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
I would maybe check there, and maybe the school board can address your concerns and questions.
You think next week, tomorrow, the school board can answer my question?
I'm not sure. You'll have to take that up with them.
Well, they'll meet tomorrow night. I said, I come tonight, see what y'all would do, but I see y'all ain't gonna do nothing just like them. I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know why people won't stand up for the Lord Jesus Christ in this day we live, but they won't.
Mr. Nance,
Uh-huh.
I don't know what they'll do, but right here's my religion, right here. But I can't say what they'll do.
Well, I mean, if y'all don't agree to sponsor the money, then they'll have to do something else.
Well, I understand that, but, I'm one person. And, when that comes to a vote, then I'll be happy to stand where I'm at now. But until it does, I don't know what they're planning on doing. I agree with Commissioner McSwain that normally church sponsors those things.
Yeah,
Now, whether they
but,
can't find a church to do that, I have no idea.
In the paper, say if the church don't sponsor it, they will sponsor it. The county will sponsor it more than that because the school board's not going to sponsor it. I know that now.
It hadn't been brought to us.
No, they hadn't voted on it yet now, according to last month.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to talk to them again tomorrow night and see what.
I just want to tell you where I stood.
Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Because if we don't take a stand this damn time we live, I don't know what's going to take place with the next generation.
Thank you for your comments, Mr.
Uh-huh.
Nance.
And I might get back with you now.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll start with board comments. Commissioner Swain, any comments?
No comments this evening.
Commissioner McIntyre?
No comment.
Commissioner Louder?
No comment.
Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Eford.
Well, I'm going to talk while they're sitting here. We have a free concert in Locust this Saturday night. Arts Fishing Club, never heard of them. They're from Nashville. Come on out. It's free. Enjoy the band Under the Stars. 6 o'clock at the Government Center.
Chairman Lawhon, do you have anything?
Have no comments other than my granddaughter's softball team won their first ball game in this nice tournament down here in Florida.
Great, great. Chairman Lawhon's in Florida for his granddaughter's softball game. I have no comments, but I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss economic development in accordance with General Statute 143-318.11A4, and to consult with the attorney in accordance with General Statute 143-318.11A3, and to discuss a personnel issue in accordance with GS 143-318.11A6. Motion by Commissioner Eford and second by Commissioner McIntyre. All those in favor say aye.